Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In today's video, we're going to talk about a couple of the most mysterious characters in One Piece, and a possible connection that could exist between them. Now, Rocks Xebec is a very mysterious character, and although it was said he was a great pirate and ultimately a incredibly powerful character if he'd had the likes of Charlotte Linlin, Kaido, and Whitebeard on his crew, he had to have a lot of power, but we really don't know much more about his accomplishments, or even less what his goals were beyond being a ruler of the world. In the very limited scenes we've had him in his silhouette, it kinda looks like Rocks Xebec could, in fact, be Dragon's father. And this is according to some information that we found in the manga, but I believe it's impossible before I saw all the author's revelations. In today's video, we're gonna talk about Rocks Xebec and what relationship he may have to Luffy and Dragon, what this possible connection between these three characters and how it may affect the future of our story, and how it's even possible that the three are related. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, we would absolutely be honored if you'd consider leaving us a like or even subscribing with a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content like this, and if you want to support us further, consider sharing the video with friends. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So to begin, Rocks Xebec is one of those mysterious characters in One Piece. We do know that he was captain of the Rocks Pirates, and it was an immensely powerful crew, having had 3 of the 4 current Yonko on it, and was so terrifying to the world government that his name was even covered up. And Xebec was also vying for control of the seas when Goldie Roger was still operating 40 years ago, but it was Roger in the end that became king of the pirates. Based on the stories and what we know, Xebec was an incredibly cruel and ambitious man, and really didn't care who he attacked, who he destroyed in his path, and as long as he could gain power and raise fame for his crew, he really didn't care, and even went so as far as making his own members of his crew fight amongst themselves to prove who was the strongest. Rocks was also a special breed of fearless and ruthless, as he had no problem taking the lives of world nobles, something that we even see modern day pirates are afraid of, because no one confronts a world noble because they don't want to be a target for the admirals or the navy. Now, instead of just being the pirate king, Rock's dream was to become king of the entire world, not just pirates, for he wanted to control everything existed no matter the cost. So his journey was only in search of power, to become stronger so that he can conquer the world. Whenever Xebec attacked a place, he left nothing but a trail of mass destruction in his wake to assert his dominance everywhere. But he was also curious about matters that the world government had kept hidden, which led him to devote himself to these matters. At some point during Xebec's journey, he could have met a woman, and during such time, he could have fell in love and then had Dragon. And we'll explain in a moment how this may be indicated that he is not necessarily Garp's son, but going forward, even after having his son, Xebec still persisted in seeking power to strengthen himself. We know that Xebec was eventually confronted by Garp and Roger, and after a long confrontation, Xebec was close to losing his life. So at this point, we have 2 options. Either he asked Garp to protect his son, or Xebec's son had a relationship with Garp's daughter. For at no time does Garp ever directly say that Dragon is his son. He just says that Luffy is Dragon's son, implying that Dragon and Garp may not necessarily be father and son, for as we know, Garp is a man with an enormous heart. One of the cornerstones of Garp's sense of justice is that he has always said that a son cannot carry the sins of their parents. So Dragon was not to blame for the acts that Xebec committed in the past, and Dragon was not responsible for the atrocities that Xebec committed in the past. So this could be why Dragon decided not to follow in the same path as Xebec and become a pirate just like his real father. Garp would have then protected him and given him his last name, so that nobody would know that he had belonged to the Rocks family. After all, during all these events, Dragon would have only been 17 years old, and that's the same age in which Luffy went overboard, old enough to have understood on his own that what his father did was wrong, but that the world nobles were also villains. So while watching over him, Garp could then teach him everything he knows and tried to convince Dragon to become a sailor just like him, so that he would follow a path that Garp considered fair, thus avoiding becoming a future pirate. Then, after some more time, Dragon would end up meeting a woman who would become very important to the story of One Piece. This woman could even be Garp's daughter, who could show up in a future chapter during a flashback. After all, 19 years after this great battle between Garp and Xebec, Luffy was born. Now in this way, it protected everyone involved, and Rocks' name is never mentioned. But at some point, Dragon had to decide to go out and face the world government. He must have met world nobles and also saw that there were many people that needed protection to save everyone, unlike his father, who took the lives of many people. So through Xebec's discoveries, Dragon may have discovered some kind of secret that the world government had been hiding. After all, all, we know that Xebec had some reason and interest in discovering secrets that this group hides, and he may have stumbled upon something incredibly important that the world government was keeping hidden. After all, he did want to take the place of the world government and become the greatest power in the world, unlike Dragon, who still wants to save everyone. So with this knowledge, Dragon would become very interested in finding out more about what the world government is hiding in Mary Joie. So in order to learn more and destroy the celestial dragons from the inside, he then creates the organization now called the Revolutionaries. While forming the group, Dragon gathered people who were interested in bringing down the world government and the Gorosei, so that together they could help people and Dragon could redeem himself for the evil that his father had already done. And with the fall of the world government, Dragon could easily get into Mary Joie and look for what this big secret is, which is most likely this big straw hat that Imsama is keeping in a frozen vault. Even Doflamingo says the secret in Mary Joie's safe would shake the world if they ever found out what was inside. And now with Luffy's new transformation and the Gorosei's concern, more about Joy Boy may be revealed soon. Now, many might say it's impossible that Garp would have adopted Xebec's son. After all, he was a cruel and evil pirate. But you also have to remember that Garp also adopted Goldie Roger's son. But out of respect of his former rival, he kept the name Ace, so only temporarily took care of him until he grew old enough to be taken care of by Dadan. But with Dragon, it might have been a different story. He might have shown from the beginning that he never agreed with Xebec's way of acting and wasn't even proud to have his last name. So perhaps Garp might have stepped in and then kept him by his side all the time so that he could teach him his ways and hopefully become a Marine. And being a Marine is something that really could have happened. I mean, as we've already mentioned, at some point Dragon could have been a member of the Marine initially, but then we do know that at some point he left his old life behind to create the Revolutionary Army. Now, over 40 years ago, Rocks and several other pirates arrived on the island of Hachinosu, otherwise known as Fullerland, to meet and seek a path to fame and fortune. And as a result of this meeting, Rocks took over this entire group and called them the Rocks Pirates. And this is what led it down to a path of destruction and the goal of world domination. Now, sometime after that, or 38 years before the actual events of where the manga starts, Xebec led this crew on a mission that endangered everyone in God Valley. And the Rocks Pirates were intercepted by Garp and Goldie Roger, who had formed a tentative alliance to take down a common enemy. It is also said that there was a huge battle which resulted in the end of the crew, according to Sengoku. Rocks Xebec is no longer alive, so the combat between these three powerful characters had to be intense and incredibly difficult. As I mentioned earlier, many of the Rocks subordinates were also extremely notable pirates who were Edward Newgate or Whitebeard, Charlotte Linlin, or even Kaido, which became three of the Yonko that are now in the New World. There were also other notable members, included Shiki, who was a pirate who ended up fighting the pirates Island to the Pirate King several times and became the first prisoner to escape Impel Down, and also Captain John, who had gathered a legendary treasure at this site. And on top of that, Rocks' achievements have also been played down in history and diminished to the point that nobody really knows their name, and not even young sailors who are coming into the Marines. And according to Sengoku, this lack of knowledge about him is really due to mostly the world government's intervention, because his path led him down to get involved in matters that they forbid, and they didn't want people to follow Rocks' suit because the world government has feared this group. But even now, not even crew members like Kaido, Big Mom, or even Whitebeard would talk about Rocks. And if they even knew he had a son, they probably wouldn't talk it as well, as if they wanted to end this pirate's legacy. Now, in all honesty, we really don't know much about Xebec, let alone his abilities, but with the crew he had assembled, there's no way he could have been a weakling. And with the way he had treated his crew, there's no way they wouldn't have already tried to take his life several times, because they ended up fighting amongst themselves to prove and gain rank within the crew. And there were no respects even with his other companions. So he must have had some kind of otherworldly strength, and he was able to defeat his crew members and force them into submission and respect him. And that is an incredible feat in itself, because his crew members weren't any slouches themselves. Just take into the fact that Roger, who was probably one of the strongest people of his time, could not take him on alone and needed Garp in order to take him out all the way. And to be considered more powerful than the Pirate King, not even our current Yonkos could be as powerful. I mean, Kaido thought Xebec was one of the most powerful people ever, and he's a person who has mastered Conqueror's Haki to an incredible level. But with his defeat, this ended up making Garp the legend known as the hero of the Marines, and it showed how much of a threat Xebec was actually considered by the world government. But nobody knows still to this day that Roger helped him take him down, so only Garp got the reputation of having managed to defeat him. And if we add one more connection to this, Roger could have seen how Garp was with Dragon, and seeing Garp welcoming him, Roger might have known then that Garp would do the same for his son in the future. And a couple of final thoughts. We also know that Teach, one of Luffy's greatest rivals, seems to admire Xebec in some way. After all, he named his ship the Saber of Xebec. And we also know that Luffy caught the eye of Blackbeard appeared. So it might make sense that Luffy is a descendant of Xebec. We also know that Luffy has inherited the will of D, and this could have come from his connection between Garp's daughter and Xebec's son. After all, Garp never said that Dragon is his son, and he said the dragon could be Xebec's nephew, but what if it goes beyond that? And what if he's the son of this most mysterious character? And if you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense and would be a big reason for Oda to hide this information about this character. But for now, let us know what you think about it. What do you think? Do you think Dragon could be in fact Xebec's son or Luffy's grandfather? Let us know in the comments below what you think. As we end our video, we'd also like to thank you so much for watching the video to the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you've made it this far, give us a like as you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.